Bernie Sanders weighed in on the Bernie or Bust movement. Let's watch.
Bernie or bust, the Bernie or bust movement. These are people who say, if you're not the nominee, that's it. They're out of the process. What is your message to those people? Obviously, you want their support and you want to be the nominee.
Right.
But is Bernie or bust a palatable position?
Well, I think to answer your question, the idea that I can snap my fingers and have millions of supporters kind of march in line, that is not what our effort is about. I think if I am not the nominee, and we're going to fight to become the nominee, it is Secretary Clinton's job to explain to those people why she should get their support. And that means she's going to have to address their needs. Secretary Clinton is going to have to make the convincing argument to them that how could it be that she's getting huge amounts of money from Wall Street and other powerful special interests, and she is going to stand up and fight for them.
But no matter what, are you going to work hard to make sure that Donald Trump loses and the Democratic candidate, whether it's you or her, wins?
Yes.
So at the end there, if you're listening on the live show, I know it kind of cut out there, but he says yes to the last question where Jake Tapper says, okay, but if it comes down to just preventing Donald Trump from getting elected, will you do that? He said yes, yes. So I actually agree with every aspect of what he said there. So first of all, he makes clear, look, my movement is not necessarily about me. It's about my philosophy, and it's about my policy positions. So if people in that movement are unwilling or unable to support Hillary Clinton, you can't blame me. You can't blame them. You have to put that on Hillary Clinton, because it's up to her to make a convincing argument to say, hey, here's why you have to vote for me. I could not tell you how much I agree with that. Because this entire time, people have been trying to put it on him or trying to put it on the Bernie or Bust people. And basically saying, get the fucking line. Well, that's a silly way of viewing it. I mean, there was a great tweet about this. I wish I could give credit to the person who said it. But the gist of it was, this debate is framed as if Democratic politicians can't fail the people. Only the people can fail the Democratic politicians. That's such a great way of putting it, because the idea is, you never put the blame on the shittiness of the Democratic candidate and how right-wing they are and how corrupt they are and how interventionist they are. It always comes down to, but you're really going to fall in line, right? And if you don't fall in line, you have failed our great candidate. The candidate has not failed you. No, sometimes it's the other fucking way around. Sometimes it's the candidate who's failing the people, and that's utterly apparent. So for everybody in Bernie or Bust, you can't blame them. They're the ones who understand democracy. If you're berating the people in Bernie or Bust as opposed to Hillary Clinton for not being a shitty candidate, you don't understand democracy. You're supposed to want the candidate to be good, not the voters to fall in line and suck it up because she's shitty. I mean, that's basically the gist of it. But then I also do agree with him at the end there. So there's, I think, a really small percentage of the Bernie or Bust people who say, not only will I not vote for Hillary, I will vote for Donald Trump in the general election. I don't know what percentage it is, but it's enough for me to comment on it here. I think it's a small percentage, but I think it exists. And even Bernie's saying there at the end, yeah, no. My number one thing will be don't get Donald Trump elected if it gets to that point. I also agree with that aspect of it. And the thing is, like, I get it. Don't get me wrong. There are some people, and their argument is, well, Hillary is business as usual. She is the establishment. And Donald Trump sometimes talks about money in politics and talks about how, you know, there's corruption. And when he was in the Republican debate on the stage, he points at everybody like, Jeb Bush, a puppet of this donor, Marco Rubio, a puppet of that donor. And people in the Democratic establishment don't understand how big of an issue that is to progressives and liberals. How that's our number one issue when we really understand that money in politics is the cancer that destroys, all of our politics and all the policy goals that we want. So when you have a Republican who's making those arguments, there are a lot of liberals and progressives who are willing to overlook everything else about Trump because, hey, he might actually do something on that issue. So I get the appeal and I get the argument of people who say, fuck it, I'll go for Trump in the general. But I'm here to tell you, and I think Bernie would tell you the same thing, he's fucking lying to you. So, and you might, well, how do you know? I know based on everything he's ever said and everything he's ever done, he's just a liar. We covered the story yesterday, or not yesterday. Yesterday was Sunday. On Friday about Trump University and how it was just the most obvious scam in the world. And the details of it are almost mind-blowing how he thought he could get away with something like that. It's fraud. He just absolutely committed fraud. The issue with veterans donations, how he said he raised $6 million for veterans. He didn't. When there was an expose on it, and the media was like, you didn't raise the money. That day that the expose came out, he writes the checks and sends them out and goes, what do you mean? What do you mean? See, I wrote the checks. No, you weren't going to do it, and then they fucking called you out on it, and then you did it at the last second. So it's stuff like this, man. It's the fact that he contradicts himself every 8 seconds. On every policy, he's been on every side of the issue. So, and then he literally is taking money. So he says, I'm not going to take money from big money interests. One of the guys who he ripped Jeb Bush for taking money from, specifically, that guy is now leading his fundraising efforts. So he's a hypocrite beyond explanation. Not only is he taking money from big money people, he's taking money from the same big money people that just bought Jeb, that he was screaming about. So you cannot believe him. He's full of shit. And he knows the buttons to push to try to get people riled up and get people on his side. So you cannot believe him when he says that, and this is all stuff that Bernie would agree with also. So what's my position on this? I've described this before. I went on TYT the night of the New York election, and when Bernie lost, and we had this long discussion, long debate about Bernie or bust. Jimmy Dore was full Bernie or bust. Cenk was not Bernie or bust. John Iadarola was not Bernie or bust. I was 50% Bernie or bust, and I'm not sure exactly where Anna is. I thought at the time she was about 50% Bernie or bust too. And so my position would be as follows. If you're in a state that is 100% going to go to either the Democrat or the Republican, so a deep red state or a deep blue state, you don't have to vote for Hillary Clinton. Relax, breathe. You're good. You don't have to vote for her. So, for example, what am I going to do? I'm going to go and either write in Bernie's name, or I'm going to go and I'm going to vote for Jill Stein. Simple as that, since I'm in New York. Now, having said that, if I was in Florida, if I was in Ohio, if I was in a swing state, I would vote for Hillary Clinton because I agree with Bernie Sanders when he says thing number one is keeping, Donald Trump out of office. Now, I would do that knowing that I am literally voting for the lesser of two evils. So I would admit that she's evil. I will continue to admit all her flaws and her faults and attack her relentlessly. But I would do that because she is the lesser of two evils. And just so you more fully understand exactly why this is my position, and honestly, I'd venture to say this is why this is Bernie Sanders' position too. I mean, Donald Trump really is a guy who I do not trust with an army. I don't trust him with an army. That's not to say I trust Hillary Clinton with an army, but I trust her with an army more than I trust Donald Trump with an army. I trust her with the nuclear codes more than I trust Donald Trump with the nuclear codes. I trust Donald Trump with the nuclear codes and an army 0%. I might trust Hillary 8% with it, but that's 8% more than what I trust Donald Trump with it. You understand what I'm saying? I also cannot get over the fact that Donald Trump said, I will purposefully kill civilians in the Middle East. I will murder the families of ISIS. And he said it confidently. It's like he had never thought about it and even considered that that's massively immoral and he's a terrorist if he does that. Just out of his mind. So I can't in good faith say, I don't care if that guy gets elected. No. I mean, what are you going to tell the families of the people who he might end up actually murdering? What are you going to tell them? Oh, my bad. Hillary sucked too, so that was that. Well, no, even if Hillary Clinton sucks 3% less than Donald Trump, my view of it, you may or may not agree, is I'm not going to take that chance. And now, again, I admit it, I'm not doing the heavy lifting here because I'm in a blue state, so I don't have to do it. I'm just saying if I was in Ohio or Florida or a swing state, I would do it. He says he's going to torture. He's doubled down on that. He's tripled down on it. He says he's going to bring back worse than waterboarding. He said he's going to torture, quote, even if it doesn't work, which is another extra level of sadistic and terroristic and grotesque. He said, of course, he's going to kick out all over 11 million undocumented immigrants. That's madness. I mean, are you kidding me? With the effects on the economy if you do something like that? I mean, that's like a childish idea. He hasn't thought through these things, and he also just doesn't care. He is pretty openly xenophobic and bigoted. He says, of course, he's going to ban all Muslims. This is something he's slightly backpedaled from, but I don't want to risk that he's going to ban all Muslims from entering the country. I think that's crazy. Look at his economic plan. He adds trillions of dollars to the debt. Now, this is something that's hilarious because he says, I'm going to balance the budget. Meanwhile, when experts and economists go through his plans, his tax proposals, they go, oh no, you're going to add trillions to it. So he doesn't know what he's doing on that front. He has no clue what he's doing. And of course, he doesn't believe in climate change, and he's not going to do anything to stop it. In fact, he's going to go in the opposite direction, and he's going to exacerbate it because he says he wants to, do more with coal and natural gas and all these things here. Now, again, Hillary's way worse than Bernie on that front because Bernie wants to treat it like a World War II level threat. But you have Hillary Clinton who says, I'm not going to back out of the Paris Agreement. That's crazy. Donald says, I want to rip that fucking thing up. There are real differences. Hillary is fucking massively, tremendously, to steal from Donald Trump, evil. But Donald Trump is more evil. So my overall take on Bernie or bust is literally exactly where Bernie Sanders is on this issue. You can't get mad at the Bernie or bust people. I'm not mad at you at all, man. In fact, I like all of you, okay? I love the Bernie or bust people. I think they make the best policy arguments. So you can't get mad at them. You can't put this at their feet. You just can't do it. If you blame anyone, you blame Hillary. And like Bernie says, it's not, he can't snap his finger and make all of them change their mind or agree with his reasoning. So to put it on his doorstep just makes less than no sense. So you can't blame them. You can't get mad at them. All you could tell them is what you plan on doing. And I just broke it down for you guys what I plan on doing. And as I've said all along, I'm a 50-50 Bernie or bust guy. I would say don't vote for her if you live in a deep blue state or deep red state. And there should be some punishment for her not being pure enough. And outside of that, would I say, fuck it, let's risk it and have Donald Trump get elected? No. And I'm not giving you advice either. Let's understand that. I'm saying if I was in Ohio or Florida or a swing state, I would go vote for her, understanding I'm voting for the lesser of two evils. So that's my general breakdown. Hopefully it's helpful. Maybe it's not helpful. I really have no idea. But there you have it.